So what's exciting about our show is you guys will learn a lot of really great things about communication when it comes to the classroom, when it comes to teachers and students, parents and children. It's going to be awesome.
We had a pop-up, and where we at, I have no idea. We got the woods in the back. So if y'all see some animals, you know, because I swear I saw the jaguar out there.
Maybe.
And I ain't talking about no scoop. I'm talking about growl, you know?
That's right. So we start running.
Yeah.
Don't get scared out there. We're safe. Don't worry.
These lights and all of these microphones and everything. Listen, it was fun while it lasted.
That's right.
But the party is over.
Everything is communication, and communication's everything.
EIC equals
CIE.
Bam.
So what you all will be learning is awesome communication skills that can be used to help you reach optimal success. So I'm excited about that, okay? So I am pretty awesome. Well, let me say this. I thoroughly enjoy helping people get ahead. I like to see people stepping into their purpose and really utilizing the tools of life to be able to get ahead. And so that's all we're going to be teaching you, is how to get ahead in life through communication. Right. And so yeah, I do a lot. And I sometimes have worked in classrooms, again, helping teachers navigate how to be the best teacher, but also do it lovingly and respectfully so that the students are able to receive not only the education, but the positive interaction that their teacher has. So I'm gonna give an example. So one time I was working in a classroom, and we're gonna talk a little bit about how teachers handle students with mental health challenges, just a little bit, and then we'll go on to the ones that don't have mental health challenges. But I want to give this particular scenario because I don't feel like the teacher handled it the best way possible. So we had a student who didn't take their meds that day, and while we were in the classroom, my job was to assess the classroom as a whole, to sit in the back and literally watch how the teacher and the students were interacting. So unfortunately, in this classroom, none of the children were separated. So their level of reading and math, as well as mental health, non-mental health, they're all in one classroom. So it wasn't in a setting where you would say, hey, we got something very special, where special education would kind of come into play. It literally was everybody in one classroom. And so the teacher only paid attention to the ones who were excelling the best in that classroom. The ones that weren't at that grade level, so let's say this was a 3rd grade class, if that child wasn't at that level, that child was ignored. And so quite naturally, in classrooms, we see children oftentimes when they're not being paid attention to, or if they're not liking the work, or if they're bored, or they just don't understand the work, they typically act out. So that particular scenario escalated when the teacher got frustrated because, again, all this time she was neglecting those children. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now you're getting on my nerves because you're distracting me from paying attention to these kids who are a little bit maybe smarter than you, don't have mental health challenges, maybe even better behaved than you. I'm showing them a little favoritism.
Okay, so
how would you?
Let's back this up. Let me break
that down.
Let me just get a little bit more scenery. You know, let me just paint the picture a little bit clearer for myself.
Yes.
How many students were in the class?
35.
35 students.
Yes.
And how many students were mentally challenged?
10.
Were they mentally challenged, or were they slow learners?
Slow learners. I would say their reading levels. So when they say that your child is not on the level that they should be on, there were some children in the class that were like that. There were some children in the class that, honestly, they probably shouldn't have been in a class. They probably should have been in a smaller setting where they can get more attention. So that's where some of the mental health come into play, where ADHD come into play, a little bit of everything. So it literally is like a mixed bag of children.
So the teacher knew that you were there
to assess,
specifically to assess the situation. So the teacher's actions did not garner her to change because of you in the room. So in her mind, how she was responding or reacting to the situation, she felt it was correct.
That's right. That's correct.
Did you say anything to her afterwards?
My job was to assess.
Okay, who did you speak to afterwards?
The principal.
Okay, and what did you tell the principal?
I explained to the principal, I broke down the whole dynamic. So I didn't just say, oh, this teacher was frustrated because of XYZ. I broke down the amount of children that was in the classroom. They didn't have enough aides or assistants in the classroom, so that one teacher was watching over 35 kids. Then quite naturally, the kids of all these different levels is in that one classroom. I broke down, of course, how she was prior to. So she was attentive when she needed to be attentive to those kids who were the favorites or the brighter students, some would call, right? And then lastly, I then brought attention to how the children that were not the favorites, so to speak, were acting in her response to that. I didn't say she snapped out on them. She acted a fool. I didn't do any of that.
Is that what she did though?
She did snap out on the kids.
And she acted a fool.
She was inappropriate, highly unprofessional.
Do you think that she had any kind of training prior?
Training in regards to what
to dealing with specific kind of children?
No. The issue that I've seen in most classrooms that I worked in is that a lot of the children and the staff, the mismatch between training, the inclusiveness part, meaning they included all the kids, not just some of the kids, or even there were cultural barriers in there because there was kids of different cultures in there. It was a lot going on in that one space. But I think if in a teacher education, so anyone that's in childhood education, any of that, they should understand that the levels of development of children make a difference in how a classroom setting is going to be. So training wise, she knows that. That's basic education that anyone that's a teacher learns. But as far as maybe having those challenges with the children who had mental health concerns or some of those other things, maybe not. And honestly, that can be the issue. Good.
You're hitting on a lot of good stuff. This is where the EIC formula comes into play. This is where everything is communication, and communication is everything. Because the one thing that needs to understand, when a teacher is teaching for the student to actually want to receive or get the lesson, they have to be communicated to that the teacher cares.
Right.
If the teacher does not care about the student will react. The student will not respond. The student will react. Now, whatever challenges the teacher had, we don't know. But what she could have done, and let me make this clear, I am a teacher, but I didn't go to school to learn how to teach. I went to school for communications and video production. But what I do is I help teachers communicate better. I give them the opportunity to enhance what they do so the teaching in the classroom will be an easier setting to manipulate. That being said, the teacher did not communicate that she cared.
Right.
When you first have that situation and you know that you have a group of students who are not at the same level of understanding as other students, you have to, you don't have to, but what you want to do is place them with students that are higher learning, that are on another level. And you have to strategically structure the room in such a way that where you have one student who is like learning challenge with two other students who are exceptional. One student learning challenge, two students, and you break it up like that. And you give the students at this particular place the opportunity to be leaders. So you say, Johnny, you're smart. You don't say smart. Johnny, you're one of my best students. You know, Johnny, I appreciate all that you've done. I need you to help
Jane.
I need you to I think that thing got all the way up in there.
The bugs are out here.
I need you to help Jessica. Okay?
Well, I gotta be me.
Well, let's just say, I know you're not a slow learner, but I need you to help Jessica. But what you have to do is you have to pace the class to a moderate level.
Right.
In other words, you know there's AP classes, you expect all these students to read all these books.
Yeah.
Then you have the regular classes, you don't do as much.
Right.
So you have to put it in a middle level. Yeah. But you have to congratulate and you have to praise the slow learning students when they get anything right.
I agree.
Because what will happen is a child does not know that they are challenged
Right.
Until somebody points it out.
That's correct.
A child does not know that they are less than. You don't know if you're poor. You don't know if whatever unless somebody says it. But it's by what? Comparisons.
Right.
And comparisons are probably one of the most dangerous things you can do to the human behavior, period. You're not as smart as your brother. You're not as smart as your sister. That's a whole nother parenting conversation we'll have. But on a communication tip, that's just making the less person feel less.
Yeah.
More and more, and they're going to keep on going down. This person's going to keep on going rising. You're not going to bring the whatever. So what you want to do is you create an environment. You have to create an environment of learning, but you want everybody to be on the same page.
Yeah.
And how you do that is just like I suggested. Johnny, I really one of my best students. I need you to work with so-and-so and so-and-so. I make it a game. And you can even put like Johnny and Jennifer and Jessica and Rebecca, but Rebecca and Jessica the slow kids. They on this team, but you make it even.
Yeah.
And you and everybody roots for each other. It becomes a team effort.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, for that to even to transpire, the teacher has to communicate that she cares.
Right.
If she doesn't care, it doesn't mean anything. Caring is something you cannot fake.
Right.
Children who happen to have some sort of vibe or whatever thing they got going on, they can read fake and real immediately.
Yeah.
They can read that. And if you're communicating that you don't care, a child is going to act up because he or she wants that attention. So they're going to go cray-cray because they try to do something. They try to be like everybody else. By you not paying attention to them, subconsciously, you telling that child, you're not like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm only going to deal with the smart kids. You stupid.
That's how that whole scenario played out, actually. It's not that she verbally demonstrated it, but her lack of empathy for those other children.
Yes.
And her inability to want to interact with them. So it's like the kids that had the higher levels of learning were sitting in the front, and the ones that didn't were sitting in the back. So quite naturally, over time, you're trying to ignore those kids, but what's going to happen is they're all sitting back there
making noise.
Boom, 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 all this in the back, and it's distracting. So now you snap. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Then the snap comes.
Yeah. And if you have young people who want to interact, it's a theory that I didn't come up with, but I use it a lot. It's embarrass versus empower. Whenever a child acts out and they want some attention, you bring them to the front of the class, but you give them something productive that they can do that they'll get right.
And they'll accomplish it.
And they'll feel empowered.
Right.
So then they'll go back to their seat thinking they did something, and they'll pay attention some more because they want to do something else so they can get more praise.
That recognition.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you don't have to yell and cuss and scream at them. And the thing is, it doesn't matter. If you set up the guidelines, the children want to follow them. So if you've been in this class, we said it was a third grade, fourth grade?
Third grade.
Let's say you were in a third grade class, right? We're in a third grade class, and it's day number 27 of school. And this stuff been going on cray-cray. You can come in day 28 and say, children, today we're going to do something different. Today we're going to work together. Today, we're going to care for each other, and I'm going to show you that I care for you. The teacher verbally says that. Now you got ears. Now you got people listening. Then you have to give the students specific ideologies. We're going to learn this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then the teacher always must commit to this. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I want you to be better.
Yeah.
Work together with me so we all can grow together at the same time. You'll start to notice the change. Now, the change may not happen immediately. It may not happen in a couple of days, but if you keep this same consistency up, you can change the whole dynamic of the room.
Yeah.
You won't have all this destruction in the background.
That's right.
Because these young people making all this noise because they want attention, but they will focus more.
Yeah.
And be less distracting because now if I'm the teacher, I'm communicating I care. So now if I'm communicating I care to you, what are you going to communicate back to me?
Reciprocity.
That you care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's just a singularity, that figure eight infinity motion. It goes back and forth. Then I break down communication. It goes this way. It's digested. It comes back.
Right.
It's just the same process. So yeah, that's an easy fix.
I agree.
It's a really, but once again, if the teacher's only there to get a check, if she's only there to pay her bills, if she's only there she can't wait for the weekend, she's always at the clock, she doesn't care about the kids, the kids will feel that.
Yeah. That's imperative. And I think when you ask about the training part of it, what kind of training can be had or implemented to help them? I mean, I think a part of what happens in a lot of classrooms, and this is just from what I see, the overcrowding of the classrooms, the lack of support from administration, the list can be long. So after a while, the teacher is checking out.
Yes.
You know, so how do you, as a communication expert, come into that kind of setting and aid them to kind of get back to get this new zest for teaching again?
I have a whole curriculum called Positive Classroom Communication. And the administration has to care. And even if they can't modulate or moderate the classes, they can put forth some training for the teachers to have them better equipped to deal with these situations.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be on the defensive.
Right.
You don't want to be defended, because by the time you defend in a situation, it's too late.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have to create a situation so the defensive doesn't even have to happen. So you're already retroactively moving forward, so you don't have to deal with putting your deuce up. People got their hands open, ready to receive.
Yeah.
And in the course that I teach, it's a process. And I express wholeheartedly to the teachers. I said, listen, I'm not trying to tell you how to teach. That's not what I'm here to do. I had a young lady who told me, well, she wasn't that young, but she said, I've been teaching for 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Josh, I think I've been doing this teaching thing wrong.
Wow.
And I said, what do you mean? She was like, I don't think I've been dealing with my young people the way I'm supposed to be dealing with. She taught middle school.
Okay.
And I said, middle school is a very tricky grade and age to teach.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, really, why would you say? She said, because I'm not doing anything that we're talking about in this class, and I'm starting to see why they react to me a certain way. And I said, I understand that. And another teacher told me, she said, you know, Josh, they teach us how to teach. They making sure we get all these certificates, we get all of these extra classes, on how to teach.
Right.
But they never teach us or work with us on how to communicate with the kids.
Yep.
And I said, that's more important than teaching. Because if you can't communicate correctly, it doesn't matter what you tell these kids, they're not going to listen.
They're not listening.
And I said, so I understand where you're coming from, and that's okay, we'll work through it. But the teacher now has to, and this is really, really tricky in my classes, somebody always cries. I mean, because they break down. Because like you said, teachers are humans too. Yeah. And they're dealing with so much, especially these new kids nowadays. They just don't sit down and listen. And you sit down and whatever. They make me sit down if you want to.
Let me see you do it, right?
Yeah. They try to buck the system.
Yeah.
So I understand how much work you have to put into it. I understand how difficult it can be. I understand the hardships. I get all of that. I'm not trying to tell you how to teach. I think that teaching is one of the most underserved and the most joyless jobs ever. Yeah. Because it's not respected enough. Yeah. And I think teachers should get paid at least, on average, coming out of college, like $55,000 off the rip. Yeah. That's just off the rip.
Bare minimum.
You've been teaching for 5 years, give them $5 more thousand. Yeah. You teach 5 more. I think the teacher really should get paid in some cases more than the administrators.
I agree. They're like direct care. They're the first ones that have to deal with these children. They're the welcoming committee.
So I'm on the teacher side, and I make sure I let that be known in my classes. And I say, listen, I'm not trying to change you as a person. I'm just trying to give you tips and tidbits and techniques so that it enhance the great work you're already doing.
That's right. Well, I like that because my perspective when I was in classrooms had nothing to do with what you just said. I had to go back and tell. I was like the snitch. You know, I had to go back
like
and say.
You look like a snitch.
I know, I am a snitch in real life.
Oh, snitch.
I'm being honest because you do something around me, I'm not going down with you. You going there by yourself.
Remind me not to tell you where I got this equipment from.
Oh, man. See what I'm saying? He tell me, I'm telling, you know. But I mean, what you said was awesome because I think oftentimes, well, like you said, when teachers, the training comes from the knowledge perspective. It's like, let me show them math and reading and social, whatever that they're studying, but it's never teaching them how to interact.
Very good.
You know, that there is like the biggest piece. And that's one thing I can say, having been there. Again, my perspective was totally different from yours. But even by seeing that, I feel like, sir, do you think that communication is common sense?
No, okay. Now, see, look, I'm going to help you out. My stepmother, may she rest in paradise, made a very, very valid statement. I never forget this. She said, common sense is uncommon.
But
because what you think is common sense, what I think is so, and you'll be surprised. I do surveys, and you'll be surprised the feedback I get from these people.
That's right.
But go ahead. Well,
no, there's no real but to it. I agree with you. Common sense is very uncommon, but my perspective of it is like, if nothing else, you're an adult and that's a child.
Yes, that's how you should look at it. But if you're not caring about the child and you got other stuff on your mind, it doesn't matter.
So how do you suggest teachers begin to care more? Meaning, what will be the very first things they can begin to do, communication-wise, of course, to start their process, to reverse the damage?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. Thank you for it. It's like you took some notes or something or paid attention in class or something, because these are spot on.
Little bit.
Like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Ooh. They didn't write that song.
Don't quit your day job. And definitely don't go on none of them game shows where you got to guess the song.
And you know I got low self-esteem.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And like you care. You forgot to put some makeup on, that's what that meant? You making a stage? I'm not good at this.
The little violin is
thing.
playing.
Oh, I thought you was knitting.
The little violin.
I want a sweater.
I got you. I'm going to bring it to the next show. How about that?
So what happens is, you ad-libbing way too much. We didn't pay for this. Okay, so let's rewind the tape. So you have to go back and look at the person inside first.
Okay.
So what I do is I have them talk. I say, what's your name? What's your favorite color? And what do you love about teaching?
Why that specifically?
Okay, 1 is just to talk. 2 is to gain some originality. I mean, some connectivity.
Okay.
With the color thing. And then 3, now that they've already talked, now that they feel it's easy to talk, now they got to think. And then if they go back to what they love about it, that's what we're gonna focus on, try to see if we can go back to that and find where that love is.
Okay.
See, I don't do too much negative. It depends. I do say what could be worked on, because it depends on what kind of room I'm in. And if you walk in and they just frustrated, these people need to get stuff off of their chest.
For sure.
Because I record a lot of my sessions, and I make it very clear to the people that no one will see this tape but me.
Right.
So whatever.
I thought I saw a ghost.
Man, don't be playing with me. The ghost of Christmas never. Ghost of Ramadan.
I thought I saw the apparition.
The ghost of ramen noodles.
Floating across the
Aborigine.
I said, well, wait a minute.
Son of a black
ghost over there.
You got me looking over my shoulder. You gotta go and bring my pistol.
This is what happens when you're outside and
Man,
you pop up podcast.
Pop. OMJJ. So once they get to that stage and they're able to let all that stuff out, I mean, people be crying, shaking, flashback and stuff that happened to them. I mean, it can get really, really rough up in there. It gets very therapeutic, but it gets to a point where once it's out, it's easy to deal with all kind of other stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
So once we get that out, and I said, okay, well, let's take all that out, get all of it out. Let's see if we can put some good stuff or some positive stuff in place of that.
Okay.
Excuse me, but the person has to do it for themselves.
Okay.
I can't make you do it. I can't make you. Sometimes people break down right away. Sometimes, it takes 2 or 3 sessions or 2 or 3 classes before they let it out, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, but I don't force anything.
Okay.
I've had people say, at first, when I first met you, I ain't like you. I ain't like this class. I ain't like nothing about it.
Wow.
I was like, well, I'm glad you stuck it out.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You know what? I'm glad I did too, because I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, good stuff.
Yeah.
But see, I didn't combat them.
Right.
See, because I'm always communicating what?
Everything.
That I
communicate.
Care.
Oh.
Even to them.
Yeah, I done failed it too.
The process first starts off, you have to get them to be able to look at themselves without judging themselves.
Without judging themselves.
Yes.
Because that's kind of your key thing. When you are interacting with your teachers and your students, you don't judge them. You keep an open mind. You listen intently. And more importantly, you have the true desire to assist them in the process, not give them the answers.
Not give them the answers.
You help them identify the resources and tools they need to kind of get them to the next level.
You've been sitting on my classes.
I'm proud of you.
That's exactly what happens.
Listen, I'm telling you, I've watched enough of your videos to see, and not just that, just how you are when we're out and about. You literally, people, it's almost like he's a people magnet. Like, people come to him, they laugh at him, and they literally sit. That's the Josh effect. I mean, they literally, they come to him and they crowd around him and have conversations with him.
About anything
and everything. And it's weird because I'm just like, you don't even know him. You tell him all your business. But guess what? Sometimes people need that.
Yes.
Just teachers,
that's the whole form
the
of
students
need it.
I'm
gonna say that. We're gonna talk about another podcast.
The students, that's a whole nother thing. I know, we kind of focus, it was teacher heavy today, but the teachers need it just as much, because what I find is, and this is just from my own being in human services for 15 years, the whole person is what's needed to show up every day to work.
Every day.
And when any piece of that whole person, so the pieces are emotionally, spiritually, financially, and physically. Right? Those 4 things. If any person is missing any of one of those things, unfortunately, it's going to carry over into wherever their next destination is.
Right.
So if they're struggling at home emotionally, they're going to bring that to the work.
Say that.
And as a result, when we talk about we want the people that we interact with to reflect us,
say that.
You now are projecting onto that child, and as a result, that child is experiencing deep hurt and trauma, and they may not even have been experiencing it, but guess what? You put it on them because that's how you came to work that day.
You can preach that. You can preach that.
Literally, that's how. And guess what? That goes vice versa. You could have been having a good day, but when that child snaps out, you took it personal. Like you're the one who
did it. We're gonna talk about that. Oh my goodness.
And it may not be any of that, but the reality is, when we get back to those original thoughts that we talked about when it comes to this teacher and helping them retrain their thoughts, you have to recalibrate yourself. By recalibrating yourself as a teacher, it will allow for you to be more successful. You'll thrive more in your workplace. Your children will become more involved in your classroom. And more importantly, you'll see some changes happen. One thing I can say, some of the principles that you talked about that I've actually seen in action has literally changed the lives of students, allowing them to go from having all those mental challenges to starting to take ownership. Meaning they'll come to me and say, hey, Miss Jessica, I need to go take my medicine before we go to lunch.
Very good.
Because I've been a TSS worker. I've been director of program. I done did everything in human service, drug and alcohol, worked in the prisons. I worked with adjudicated youth. I've done everything. So to see all of those different things, when you see a child become responsible,
say that.
I think that's what the epitome of being a teacher or a leader is, because you'll see people transform in front of you. Only if you recognize in yourself that you may be missing some tools that will allow for you to help them get to their next level. So that's what we talk about, optimal success. We don't want you to interact with a teacher or administrative person in a school setting and not be able to take that child from how they begin to a different level. They should never leave you the same way that they came.
That's right.
Unfortunately, that happens when the pressures of milestone tests for Georgia. You know, you're not getting paid enough. You know, they're making you do all these additional trainings that may not even be necessary for you to do your job, but it's necessary for them to say, oh, we made them do this. Like, the pressures of teacher are so tremendous. I can see how easily it's for them to fall into the traps of I don't care.
J-O.
Talking about OMJJ moment. Oh my JJ moments is when you realize, man, that is so right. Like, the pressures of me being a teacher and everything that's involved with that. You know, the angry parent, the absent parent, the one that don't care, even though they're around. Too. Like, the list is long. And so ideally, you can find resources like Mr. Peltier to come to your school and help you unfold all of that.
That's good. That's exactly what happens.
You know, and literally what you'll find afterwards is it will allow for you to identify that thing or things. It could be multiple.
Could be the train.
It could be the train.
They ain't gonna stop us though.
and literally it could be any of that will put you in a damper. The goal behind the Josh effect, or the goal behind the programming that he has in school, is to help you reinvent yourself. Revigorate your zealousness for being a teacher, remembering why you became a teacher. What would be some key takeaways from today's conversation?
Key takeaways. Very good.
Give me three.
Give you three. Make sure, no matter where you are, if you're at home, if you're at work, if you're in the office, if you're in a relationship, if you're a child, if you're whatever, communicate that you care to the other person. Number two, understand that what you do as a teacher, I know, is not easy. Okay? Don't take what you do for, I don't take what you do for granted. Understand, if you were not appreciated, I appreciate you. Thank you, because I can name so many teachers along my path that helped me out. Persephone Felder-Frentis, Dr. Eugene Lambert, Dr. Brooke Workman, Dr. David Popkin, Miss Askew, old girl from my French class, Miss Coonsley. She was a little cuckoo, but she helped me out though. I mean, I can remember these names. So obviously,
and he's old, people, by the way.
Son of a black baldy, I ain't that old, but I look good.
He look good for his age.
I look good for 27.
Plus 20.
So yeah, communicate that you care.
You can't count.
And understand that I care about the teachers. Okay, and always, and I know this is difficult, but you sometimes have to. We didn't talk about this, but I'm gonna bring this up. You have to QTIP. Q-tip. I got this from a good man, a good friend of mine, Mr. Jamie Cassidy. He said, quit taking it personal.
I agree.
So if the child comes at you in a certain way, don't be bothered by it, because more than likely the child's not mad at you. The child is dealing with something else.
That's right.
And you're the person that is coming out on. I know it's easier said than done. Trust me, I've been dealt with enough. I do have school programs. I have some kids. This girl told me, she said, Mr. Peltier, her face was all scrunched up. Did you eat some onions? That's what I did. She said, your breath stank. 4th grade. Now, I can get mad about that, but I did eat some onions. My breath probably did stink. And these kids, they pretty honest, but that's what you want. When you got kids that are honest with you, you winning.
Yeah.
You are so winning. Because if they want to lie to appease your feelings, they can be hiding a lot of other stuff, which that's a whole nother conversation with parents. But so, quit taking it personal. And keep on pushing on.
That's right. I like that.
Quit taking it personal. Keep pushing on. I just added the last one. I care about all the teachers.
That's right.
I think you all are doing a fantastical job. And number one, communicate, and this is everything in life. Communicate that you care.
That's right.
Over time. But if you understand the process of communication, I guarantee you it will get better. You're not gonna be able to save everybody.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you'll be able to save more people.
More people is the key. I think that was Awesome. I appreciate your time. Listen, guys, if you all want to continue to keep getting tips and tricks from us, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. This podcast will be on Anchor, which we will also be on Spotify and Pandora and all these other ones. But actually, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah.
To the audio and the video, because we're creating our YouTube. We'll be on Instagram. You guys can follow us on everything to make sure that you're able to literally be able to get this great information, because we want you to be great. We want you teachers to be great. We want y'all to have awesome students. We want y'all to have phenomenal classroom environments where kids can excel and thrive, feel comfortable, feel like they're cared for, and we want y'all to feel the same way. Well, listen, guys, thank y'all very much for listening and watching today, whatever channel you are actually participating in. And I know you saw a lot of our little animals flying around. I'm pretty sure that was a ghost over there.
I thought I saw a glow-in-the-dark deer.
Maybe so. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, some glow-in-the-dark deers.
Maybe that's what I saw that was behind you, and then when I looked, you know how they run real quick. Maybe so.
That sounds like the Predator. Somebody dead by the last chicka. That's Jason.
I'm jacking it all up. We're gonna leave that alone.
Ain't nobody gonna die.
Ain't nobody gonna die. But thank y'all. Have a great evening.